Since 2017, the Italian Wine Podcast has exploded and expects to hit 6 million listens by the end of July 2023. We're celebrating this success by recognizing those who have shared the journey with us and giving them the opportunity to contribute to the ongoing success of the shows. By buying a paper copy of the Italian Wine Unplugged 2.0 or making a donation to help the ongoing running costs, members of the international Italian wine community will be given the chance to nominate future guests and even enter a prize draw to have lunch with Stevie Kim and Professor Attilio Scienza. To find out more, visit us at italianwinepodcast.com. Chin chin!
Welcome to the Italian Wine Podcast. I'm Cynthia Chaplin, and this is Voices. Every Wednesday, I will be sharing conversations with international wine industry professionals, discussing issues in diversity, equity, and inclusion through their personal experiences working in the field of wine. If you enjoy the show, please subscribe and rate our show wherever you get your pods.
Hello and welcome to Voices. Today it is a pleasure for me to introduce Noelle Hale, who was our VIA Italian wine ambassador candidate and successful candidate at that a couple of weeks ago here in Verona. Noelle is in California, where she works at Napa Valley Wine Academy as program director. So she's very immersed in wine education. And being an educator myself, it's always fun to talk to somebody who's in the business of teaching wine. So welcome to the show, Noelle. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Hi, Cynthia. Thank you for having me.
No, huge pleasure. I know that you are hot off the airplane from being in London for the WSET Diploma graduation, where you got to clap a lot of your students through the course. So congratulations, first of all.
Yeah. Well, congratulations to all the new diploma graduates. It was really exciting. It's always fun to be in London and, see people so happy and excited.
It is. And, from our standpoint at Vinitaly International Academy, it's so much fun for us to see so many of our students completing that course of study as well. So wine study is never a one-way street. It tends to have as many branches as a tree.
Yeah, I did see a few familiar faces from VIA, so that was fun too.
Well, let me ask you. You, as I said, you're very much in the wine education business now, but you weren't always. How did you get into wine, and how did you become an educator?
Yeah, so my husband and I went on a trip to New Zealand when we were 23, 24 maybe. And I had only ever been to, Napa and Sonoma previously. And, they were lovely. But when we went to New Zealand, I was really struck by how wonderful and friendly everyone is. And you go to the wineries and they're like, oh, welcome, taste everything we make and try some of our cherries.
Yeah, the hospitality is huge.
Yeah, it was just such a lovely experience. And I remember thinking, wow, how do I get into wine? Like, this is so cool. And, we were actually living in Japan at the time. And so we had a few years before we knew we were going to be moving back to the US. And so, I kind of used that time to figure out, well, how do I get into wine? And so when we moved back to the US, I took my first WSET class, level 2, and passed, and kind of was able to leverage that to get a job working at a local tasting room, because I live near Santa Barbara now, and so that was kind of my first
That's a good step. That's a good step.
Yeah, and so then I started studying for WSET level 3. And I think somewhere in there, it was before I actually took the exam, I think, I was able to get a job as a sales rep for a distributor. And so that was kind of my next step. And then, I passed WSET level 3. And then at that point, I saw in one of the Napa Valley Wine Academy's emails, and I hadn't actually taken any of my classes through them, because at that time they were only offering classes in Napa. And I was either in Southern California or online studying, but I was getting their emails and I saw they were looking for someone to teach WSET classes in Santa Barbara. And so I applied.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah. And so, when you've passed WSET level 3, that means you can teach levels 1 and 2, which is what they needed at the time. And so they ended up hiring me to be their satellite instructor in the Santa Barbara area.
Fantastic.
Yeah. And so I was doing that part-time, also working as a sales rep, and, did that for, I don't know, I guess 4 years or so. And then I guess along the way, I completed my own WSET diploma. And, then at some point I saw the Napa Valley Wine Academy, they were hiring someone to run their diploma program. And I was like, well, I could do that. And so I applied and I got the job. So that's what I do now.
It's amazing how many people in the wine sector just kind of, it just happens. It's not sort of a plotted, charted course like when you're sailing a boat. It just kind of happens. And that sounds like yours was that way. And I like that. I appreciate the organic journey there. So, there you are. You are very ensconced in WSET, which we know is, very much its own unique world, using its own specific language, its own specific systematic approach to tasting. I'm a WSET educator too, so I'm very familiar with it. But what drew you to VIA, to Vinitaly International Academy? Because it's quite different.
Yeah, it was different. And it was even different than I had thought it was going to be when I applied, which was wonderful.
We like to trick you that way.
No, it was great. So let's see, I had read about VIA, I think a year or two ago, but I missed the application window. So I was like, okay, never mind. Maybe I'll catch it next year or another year. And then my fellow, instructor at Napa Valley Wine Academy, Jess Helfand, actually applied, and she mentioned it. And I was like, oh no, I don't want to miss the window again. So I applied and I got in, and I was really excited. And so I think for me, and I heard at least one person at VIA say something similar, but in the WSET, even in the diploma, you spend a lot of time covering French wine regions, and it's multiple weeks, multiple classes, but then comparatively you spend much less time covering Italy, and I think they have broadened their Italian offerings, but it's also a very old country, with, well, I guess technically not an old country, but maybe an old tradition of winemaking in the country that is now Italy. It just doesn't get studied in the same depth. And so I personally felt like even after finishing the diploma, that Italian wine was still something of an enigma to me. And the idea of attending VIA would be to really immerse myself in Italian wine and hopefully just learn about it better, and hear about it more and learn about it as much as I could. And so
that's a great way to come to VIA, I have to say. I mean, I've complained to Michelle Brampton, the CEO of WSET, that there's not enough information about Italy and Italian wines, and she assures me that will change, over time. But I suspect not in leaps and bounds. So I think all of us who are really thirsty, and I use the word on purpose, for knowledge about wine, finding something like VIA that really does a deep dive into Italy that no one else really seems to do, certainly not at the same level of detail, is important, satisfies our nerdy yearning for knowledge, but also really allows us into Italian wine in a way that, WSET definitely doesn't let us in enough.
Yeah. Well, and where I live too, which, again, it's near Santa Barbara, which is its own wine region. And so it's very easy to get wines from Santa Barbara, where I live. Sometimes it can be difficult to find other international styles of wine. And, beyond some of the major styles, sometimes you kind of have to know where to go, and they have to have stuff in stock. And I was so excited for the opportunity to come to VIA and get to taste all of the wines too. And so,
oh, for sure. I mean, that's definitely part of it. I think, this year was one of our biggest ones ever. You tasted 151 wines, in case you didn't know. And of course, we had 8 master classes with 8 consortiums. So that is an opportunity for people who, don't have a huge amount of access to Italian wine. Although it's funny because, of course, the U.S. is one of the biggest markets for Italian wine in the world. So I think, that protectionism in California, keeping these other wines out, is definitely working against getting Italian wine knowledge there. But we were so excited to have you and Jess both here from Napa Valley Wine Academy. We always, want to improve what we're doing educationally. And, all of us being WSET educators as well. For me, VIA is really my baby. I'm very passionate about it. So tell me what you thought of it as an academic experience. And no, I won't hate you if you criticize it. I want to make it better.
I mean, I thought it was great. And so I think it was, I mentioned earlier, it was a little different than I thought it was going to be. And so
what did you anticipate, just for the heck of it?
I guess I came in, and you read, oh, okay, this is this, course and then exam you take. And if you pass, you're an Italian wine ambassador. Oh my gosh. And so I was kind of expecting a lot of the focus to be on the different DOCs and DOCGs. And there was some of that focus. But what really struck me was the depth of the focus on specific grape varieties and their history and how they came to be and how they ended up where they're grown today. And I thought that was really interesting. And it wasn't a way that I had ever really studied Italy as a whole before. And so I just thought it was really fascinating. And it was a different way of looking at Italy. And, and then the other, I think that was one thing that was a pleasant surprise. And
are you enjoying this podcast? Don't forget to visit our YouTube channel, Mama Jumbo Shrimp, for fascinating videos covering Stevie Kim and her travels across Italy and beyond, meeting winemakers, eating local foods, and taking in the scenery. Now, back to the show.
The other thing, the tasting grid is a little bit different. And one of the things I really appreciated was getting to hear how Sarah and Henry, speak about Italian wine and particularly Italian white wine. Because I think in, coming from a WSET background, there can be this tendency to sort of think, oh, all Italian white wine is sort of neutral and high acid with flavors of citrus and green apple.
Yeah, tragic, but true.
Hearing Sarah talk about texture in white wines was, I think, sort of a light bulb moment for me, because it's kind of subtle in a way. And I really felt like I had to kind of sit there and think about it as we tasted the wines and try and wrap my head around it, because I had never really looked at that before. And so it felt like, trying to calibrate according to the VIA grid, at least in terms of texture in white wines, it was a little bit challenging at first, but I did feel like I wrapped my head around it eventually. And it's a really useful, extra tool to have, to be able to evaluate Italian wine going forward.
This just made my day, because I do think that's one of the things that makes VIA so unique. We do, Sarah and Henry both, Sarah Heller, Master of Wine, and Henry DeVar, Italian wine expert, are our two primary faculty members. And they're both really brilliant at bringing out this unique characteristic, as you said, of texture in white wines, where, most of the white wines in the world are made from 6 or 7 grapes. And the white wines in Italy, are made from 200 grapes. And this issue of texture and a savory quality, even a phenolic quality, is really unique to Italian wines. And it's not easy to discuss, and it's not, much spoken of outside of here. So I'm so glad that appealed to you, because we are very passionate about getting that message out. White wines in Italy are not just Pinot Grigio. And there are some very high quality Pinot Grigios that are not sort of your average bar wine. So that's a great point to have taken away. I'm glad that was, something that you took away from the course, because it is difficult to grasp, and it is a very particular factor in Italian wine. So I'm happy that worked for you.
Yeah, absolutely. It felt like it was this tool in my toolbox that I didn't realize I was missing. Oh, this is cool. Okay. So,
I'm happy. I'm happy. Well, my next question for you, speaking educator to educator, now that you are a proud Italian wine ambassador, and not only do I give you congratulations, but I'm also really happy about this because we're going to see if we can't hit you up to start teaching Italian wine. So have you got any thoughts on that?
oh, cool. Well, I mean, that was part of the reason I wanted to come to VIA. It was just, because personally, I didn't feel like I could authoritatively teach about Italy. I mean, could I, muddle my way through? Probably, but, like I really felt like it helped me, cement a lot of the knowledge and helped kind of bring it to life in a way that I think makes your teaching more authentic, because I mean, students can tell when you feel good about what you're teaching and you're excited about it.
Or when you're winging it, exactly.
And if somebody has some like crazy off the wall question, you can either say, well, I know the answer, or now I know where I can find the answer and I'll get back to you. So
that's such a good point. That's a very good point. Well, I think one of the things that people don't really understand, and it's probably because we haven't been loud and proud about discussing it and getting the message out there yet, is that Vinitaly International Academy does have this Italian wine ambassador program, which people do know about. But we also have the Maestro program, which is kind of one step down, kind of an introductory, one first foot on the ladder of Italian wine knowledge. And the people who teach it are Italian wine ambassadors. You have to pass that exam to become a Maestro educator, and then you can teach that intro level course all over the world. And we are really hoping that a lot of our new ambassadors, it was a great group, your class this year, 64 students, 33 new students passed from 25 countries. It was exciting for me, exciting for our whole team to see the enthusiasm and how engaged all of you guys were. So we're hoping to see the Maestro program take off in some new countries as well. So I'm wondering if there's any opportunity for Maestro to wedge its way in the door at Napa Valley Wine Academy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see why not. I think I would like to.
We need to bring Italian wine joy to California. We have to do it.
There is, opportunity to learn about Italian wine in California, beyond the Barolo and Chianti and Pinot Grigio and Prosecco that you can, find everywhere. It was really one of the more fascinating parts of VIA to me, was just getting to try so many amazing wines.
What were the wines that stuck in your mind?
There was like a day where we tried the Sagrantinos, and
yep, from Umbria, absolutely.
Yeah, and the speaker,
Gianpaolo Tabarini. He's a character. We love him.
Yeah, he was great. I thought those were really interesting because I'd only ever had Sagrantino, once, maybe twice, and I just remember that it just has these ripping tannins, and you're just like, oh my gosh, it's hard to even notice anything else about the wine. And then you think, oh man, trying a lineup of them, holy cow, am I going to have teeth left at the end of this? and it was really interesting just to see that there is this variation in, the texture of the tannins and in the wines themselves. And, there is this nuance that, I didn't know I could expect, and I thought that was really interesting. So I thought that was really interesting. And then funnily enough, just out around in town in Verona, we kept seeing Lugana, the white wine available on wine lists.
Of course, because it's only a couple miles away.
Just like, this is delicious. I'd never had a Lugana in my life. It was just like, had a nice weight. It was refreshing. It had some floral aromas with some citrus. And it was just like, wow, this is good.
Oh, I'm so happy about this. I think people do forget. I mean, that's kind of one of the hidden gems of what we do, is that yes, it's this intense deep dive course and you taste all these wines and you have these wonderful teachers, but it's in freaking Verona. You finish a long day in the classroom and you can just walk into the center of Verona and stand by the ancient arena and drink Lugana. What better way to study? So that's a very good point. Even I tend to forget that on a long, busy week, that I could just walk into town and drink Lugana and relax.
Lucky you.
Exactly. So I'm so glad that you got the opportunity to do that and test so many new wines and find some yourself that maybe we didn't have time to focus on enough while you were in the classroom. We feel bad. We invite people to come to Verona for 5 days and then we sit you in a windowless room to study hard. But
there were windows. I remember there being windows. So.
There are.
It's okay.
But no, that's great. We encourage our students to make friends, be a community, go out, find things, go on trips, make the best of your time here. So it sounds like you really did that. I'm so glad to hear it. That's really great.
Yeah. I just had a great time. I really did. So.
Well, I can't thank you enough for coming all the way from California to study with us. And as I said, I'm so proud of your great success. And it's always nice to meet another educator from another part of the world. And I am going to nag you and nudge you and get you into the Maestro program with me so that we can spread some more Italian wine knowledge.
That would be awesome.
Thank you so much for coming on today, Noelle. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Cynthia.
Thank you for listening, and remember to tune in next Wednesday when I'll be chatting with another fascinating guest. Italian Wine Podcast is among the leading wine podcasts in the world and the only one with a daily show. Tune in every day and discover all our different shows. You can find us at ItalianWinePodcast.com, SoundCloud, Spotify, Himalaya, or wherever you get your pods.